So you want to make videos, you son of a bitch. Why would you do that? In this video, I'm going to talk about the best camera to use. I'm going to teach you a little bit about cameras so you know which one to pick. I'm going to talk a little bit about external audio and what's the best system to use, and a little bit about how to find what kind of videos you should be making, how to find your purpose in life. That's all coming up. Welcome back. So I want to keep this as short as possible. Let's get right into this. The 4 aspects of making a video. You got the lighting, you have the camera, you got the audio, and there's a 4th one. Fuck, the tripod. Of course. So let's talk briefly about lighting. If you have the highest end quality camera, but you're in a dark room, it's gonna look like shit. And if you have the cheapest smartphone, but you have amazing lighting, it's gonna look good. It doesn't have to be expensive. Right now, I'm using 2 LED light bulbs plugged into light fixtures. You could use lamps. You don't have to get an expensive lighting system. And look up 3-point lighting systems. Next, I wanna talk about audio. It is at least as important, if not more important, than the video. I can't tell you how many times I've clicked off a video because the audio was shit. Even if it looks good. If it looks good, you got a stable, clear image, but the audio is like piercing your ears with knives, I'm not gonna watch it. So invest in the audio. Do not buy a $1,000 camera and then forget completely about audio. Every camera you buy has an onboard microphone, and they're good if you're really close to it. That's the thing with mics. It has to be close to you to sound good. So if you're filming yourself, like holding the camera here, it's gonna sound pretty good. So you probably won't need an external mic, but it's not a very flattering image of yourself. If you watch my how to appear better looking on camera video, I talk a little bit about focal lengths. And the fact is, camera at a wide angle shot from this far away from you is very unattractive. It stretches your nose out. It's not an accurate representation of your face. Whereas if the camera was put much farther back and you zoom in with the lens, it flattens your face out to a more natural look. So you look like yourself if it's like that. So there's 2 solutions better than your onboard camera's microphone, and that's a shotgun mic and a lavalier mic. So the onboard camera's microphone, it just captures everything. It's just like this beam that just gets everything. Not only your voice, but all the sounds in your room, all the fans. I should have turned this fan off. Whereas a shotgun mic, you plug it on, it sticks out, and it just directs the sound laser beam style at your voice, so it doesn't pick up all this ambient noise. The problem with that kind of microphone, so my camera right now is pretty far away from me, and if I was using a shotgun mic on this camera, it would not pick up my voice as good as the mic I'm using right now, no way. But it will work very well if the camera's pretty close to you. It works great for interview styles if you're talking to somebody like Vegan Gains does on the street, and you're pointing the camera at them, they're not too far away from you. A shotgun mic is gonna pick up their voice pretty good and limit the outside noise. So let's talk a bit about lavalier mics. That's what I'm using now. It's clipped onto my shirt. In my opinion, this is the best style mic to pick up human voices. If your camera has a mic jack, which we'll talk about in the camera section, you plug a wireless system into the camera, and then you have a receiver that's in your pocket, and then you plug your lav mic into that. So this is very good. It's just expensive. It's one of the most expensive units to get. My camera does not have a mic input. I can't use any of these options that I've talked about so far. So what I did, I bought this Zoom H1. It's a microphone, and it's fairly decent, but I mean, in order to use it, I would have to be holding it up to my face like this. Very awkward. The reason I got it though was to act as a recorder, and I plugged the mic into this, and it's clipped onto my shirt. So I just stick this thing in my pocket and I'm good to go. I can go anywhere. I could use that super zoom camera and film across the street.
Oh, hi there.
This is me, like 200 feet from my house. And if you want to get an idea of how far away I am from the camera, take a look at this. Boom. See how far away I was? So I could make these street interviews discreetly from my window. It'd be pretty funny. I might do that one day. One of the reasons I like the lav mics is because you can go outside and it's not going to pick up a bunch of wind. You can clip it on the inside of your shirt. That will block most of the wind, and then you can get good audio outdoors. I made a lot of festival videos and the audio is decent. It's just picking up my voice outdoors, whereas if you were using the camera, it would be a nightmare. And you can do interviews with people, but what I found out is you have to be close to the person, obviously. So you have to film yourself kind of selfie style or get somebody else to film it. You got to be close to the person, but if you are, this makes great audio for you and another person. The major downside to this system, obviously, it's recording the audio separately from your video, so you have to sync it up later in your video editing program. I mean, it's really easy to do. You start the camera, you start the mic, then you clap, and you'll see when you're lining up the audio, you line up the spikes of the clap, and then you're synced in, and you just delete your camera audio, put this audio in its place, link up the file, and you're good to go. But this can get annoying if you have multiple clips, so you have to ask yourself, what kind of videos are you gonna make? If it's just, I'm making this in 1 or 2 clips, so it's gonna be a piece of cake to sync up. But when I do like what I eat in a day videos where I got like 7 or 8 clips, that can get a pain in the ass to have to link up 7 or 8 different audios. So if that sounds like a pain in the ass to you, you're gonna wanna buy a camera with a mic jack and get one of the systems I talked about earlier. And to add to that misery, the mic I use is the Mic J044, and it's a mono mic. It only records the left side of the audio. So if you want it to come out of both sides, you have to do another step, which is simple in itself. It's not hard. You just have to duplicate the left side onto the right side and then save the file. But it's just an extra step, and if that sounds like a pain in the ass to you, you gotta get a stereo lavalier mic, not a mono mic. I did a lot of research though, and I listened to a lot of lavalier mics, and this one sounded the best for the cheapest cost. For me personally, I like the bass of the voice. It sounds clear to me. It sounds to me as good as the high-end mics that cost like 200 or more. It's like the steal of the century. So now I'm talking on my Blue Yeti microphone. So Yeti-like. Okay, here's the deal with cameras. Take a look at this chart. These are the various sensor sizes in cameras. The sensor is what records the image, and size matters. So the bigger sensor you get, the better your camera's gonna perform in low light, and the shallower depth of field you'll be able to create for that cinematic look with the blurry background. It's wonderful. Now, I don't know who came up with the confusing math to describe these sensors, but they should be thrown in prison and raped. So at the small end, you have your 1/2.3 inch sensor, and pretty much all smartphones and pocketable point and shoot cameras have this tiny sensor. They'll do okay in really good lighting, but if you want to record inside your house with just lamps and shit, these kind of cameras will give you fuzzy, grainy videos that won't be very appealing. But if it's all you got, it's good enough. Just get a tripod, because most smartphones don't have image stabilization, and no one wants to see your shaky ass videos filmed by Michael J. Fox. Love you, Mike. iPhone 6 is one of the best video cameras for a smartphone, and if you have one or a similar phone, there's no reason to get a point and shoot camera with the same sensor size. The only downside is you don't have that flip around screen, so you can't see yourself while filming, which is so helpful when you're framing your shot. And don't you even think about recording yourself with that crappy front-facing camera. I'll hunt you down with a spoon this time. If you want to step up from the iPhone 6, you have to move up to the 1-inch sensor cameras. There's 2 worth mentioning, the Canon G7X, which is what I use, and the Sony RX100 Mark III or 4. All 3 of these cameras have amazing video quality, a flip around screen, and manual controls. Only the Sony RX100 Mark IV shoots in 4K, but no one wants to see every pimple on your face, and most computers can't even play 4K videos, so it's not something I would worry about at all. 1080p at 60 frames per second is more than adequate for pretty much anything you'd ever want to film. These cameras are all pocketable, and the G7X is the only one that has a touch screen, which can be fun for pulling focus and stuff. The G7X is also the cheapest option, with the Sony RX100 Mark IV being the most expensive. If you can afford it, the Mark IV does have a pretty fun slow motion feature and does 4K if you ever want that, but I'm really happy with the G7X myself. The downside to all three of these cameras is they don't have a mic jack, so you have to use the external audio setup that I talked about earlier with the Zoom H1 and a lav mic, and then you gotta sync your audio and video in post-production. When you're truly ready to step up your game, you'll want to buy into an interchangeable lens system camera, either a DSLR or a mirrorless. They're much more expensive, but they have even bigger sensors, they'll do even better in low light, and if you get a good lens, they'll have that even shallower depth of field look for that smooth, blurred background we talked about earlier. Here's a few examples of good cameras with bigger than 1-inch sensor sizes. The Panasonic GH4 has a micro four thirds sensor, and many professionals use that camera. It has pretty much everything you could ever dream of. It's better in low light than all the cameras I've talked about so far, but you'll pay good money for it, and then even more for a good lens. The next sensor size, APS-C, there's a bunch from Canon, T6i, or the 70D, but the mother of all sensor sizes is the full frame sensor. And the best one on the market right now is the one Vegan Gains just got, the Sony a7S Mark II. If you get a good lens on that thing, I don't think you even need light to film. You just make videos in a pitch black room and they'll turn out fine. I'm kidding, of course, you son of a bitch. This camera costs like $4 though without a good lens, so if you're making those Vegan Gains dollars, consider getting a full frame camera because they're the best in low light, and with a good lens they'll give you that shallowest depth of field. The a7S Mark II does not have a flip around screen though, so it's not something I would go with personally. It does 4K as well, but until I have the skin tone of a teenage girl, I'll be sticking with 1080p, thank you very much. Bottom line, if you're buying a camera to make YouTube videos, this is the checklist I would have. 1080p, 60p videos, at least a 1-inch sensor, at the very least a 2.8 aperture lens, but 1.8 would be much better, a flip around screen, a mic jack if you don't want to sync the audio in post, and the ability to use manual controls is always nice. Image stabilization is also pretty important if you don't use a tripod. And lastly, I just want to touch on how to find your passion and your purpose. What kind of videos should you be making? Just start. I took Durian Rider's advice way long ago, and I just started making videos. I did not know what kind of videos I would make, but just start now. Stop thinking about it so much. Don't overthink it. Whatever comes to your mind, introduce yourself. Tell us how you got here, why you're doing this, what you want to talk about, and then go from there. Make recipes, what you ate in a day. I mean, just start like that and the ideas will come to you. You'll grow into your own skin. You'll discover that passion eventually. Just listen to your instinct. You know what makes you unique, and just follow your excitement. You have to be excited about the videos you make. If you don't enjoy watching your own videos, you're not gonna make it. You have to love your videos. So follow what excites you, and that will lead you to greatness. You gotta love what you do. You're an artist. Go create a masterpiece. Go enjoy yourself, have fun. And that's it for today. Thanks for watching. Subscribe for more videos. Give it a thumbs up and share it, you son of a bitch. You share that video, damn it. And that's it. Take care, my friend.